Supporting all 32 counties, Allianz.
Hello and welcome to Allianz Leagues Reloaded. Over the next 7 weeks, myself and Twinkle Toes Anna will bring you up to speed on what's been happening on the air sport coverage of the Allianz Football and Hurling Leagues.
Yes, we'll be streaming on Facebook Live every Wednesday night, or else you can tune in on Air Sport. We have a jam-packed show over the course of the next hour, so let's get straight into it.
Every week we will have a rotating panel of guests with us in studio, if we don't get fired after week one, that is. And don't worry, you don't have to vote for Anna to keep her on this show. She says she's going to be here for the next few weeks.
I know!
Tonight we're joined by former Dublin midfielder Denis Bastick, and beside him the snappiest dresser in Gaelic football reporting, Air Sports regular Billy Joe Padden. And later in the show, Tommy Walsh will be on the phone to chat about the start to the Allianz Hurling Leagues.
Yes, and if you want to get involved with the show, you can comment on Facebook under the live link, or you can tweet us at Air Sport, or use the hashtag Allianz Leagues Reloaded. We'll be putting your questions to the lads in part 3, so make sure you get them in. Later on the show, we will have our full interview with All-Star Dean Rock. But first, we had to get his thoughts on his old Dublin teammate, Denis.
Denis, yeah, the old warhorse, as we'd like to call him. Great guy, had an amazing career at Dublin, and he's hugely missed it around the dressing room. In fairness, we've a bit more time with the physios now, because he used to get his ankles, his wrists and his shoulders and everything else strapped, so at least he's left a bit more tape for the rest of the lads. But hopefully he's a good career in the media side of things with yourselves if he gets involved in that.
High praise, I think, from one of the best there, Denis. Absolutely, yeah. He wasn't on the wrong end of any of your flying elbows in training, that's for sure and certain.
So. No, wasn't up that far.
And the physio doesn't have to restock now as often, apparently. So
funny, yeah. I got a text message off the physio of a container. When I retired, he said, "You should have told me earlier. Your taping just came in for the year." So.
Brilliant. I know Denis' retirement is raw still for you, and it was a big decision when you look at Alan Brogan still hanging around and Paul Flynn as well. I know Dave a few years on you, but ultimately, what made you come to that decision?
Probably had my mind made up last year that this was going to be my last, so it would have been touch and go going into 2017, and then would have sat down with the manager, and then I suppose I had an operation December of that year, and I just had some time to recover, and I was come back in, get yourself right, and give it one last push, and that's what I did. So
it wasn't too bad leaving with another All-Ireland in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Either, you know, just to bring it up to number 5. There was no temptation to stay around and hang around for one more, no?
You sure? You didn't wake up like how many mornings that, you know, I'm going back?
No, that was it now, and I was happy the way I finished.
What about you, Billy Joe?
I would have taken one.
I was just going to say, Billy, myself and yourself on this side of the table have no All-Irelands, and these are laden down.
Yeah, happy enough now. We can't give out. Like, I can even remember it as well. Like, it never gets easier. Like, I don't know about you, but the first few games when Cork were playing, I tended to stay away. I was delighted they won, but like, it's hard. You know, it is hard when you're used to wearing that jersey, and all of a sudden you're not there.
You're kind of thinking before the game, a couple of hours, that you'd be in the hotel at this time or having a meal and stuff like that. That kind of stuff's going through your head.
Can you remember it? Was that far back for you that you can't remember?
No, I don't want to remember. I think I was sitting on the phone waiting for a call from Pillar, and it just never happened, as Denis will well know. You were delighted to see the back of me, that's for sure and certain. The weekend, did you find that hard? That's the first match, really? Yeah,
I did. Had a club game Sunday morning, so that kind of brings it back down to life and reality. But yeah, watched the game at home, and I just kind of relaxed and just took it all in, Okay.
Well, like, speaking of the Dublin Kildare game, obviously from your perspective, you're looking at it now a little bit differently. Like, what struck you most about the game?
I wasn't surprised really how it panned out. You know, I thought maybe Dublin would be slow, maybe just to start off, but I never thought that they might lose. You know, I just thought they'd kick on, and they got that burst in the second half, and then that kind of knocked the stuffing out of Kildare a bit, and they just pushed on from that, really.
Okay, Denis, well, before our in-depth analysis tonight, we'll have a look back on Saturday's football action from Croke Park. As Denis says, the Dubs put in a strong second half performance to overcome newly promoted Kildare.
Croke Park looking resplendent on this January evening as we get stuck into the Allianz Football League.
Yeah, we're 2 weeks back, a bit of a stormy sea ahead of us in the first couple of games, but hopefully we can navigate through that.
Straight away he's into it. He's setting the scene, he's setting the tone.
When you're playing the Dublins, the Kerrys, the Tyrones, the Mayos every week, that's really where you're at, and in a sense it'll validate the work you've done or maybe the work that's still there for you to do.
That's been kept in brilliantly and through the legs of Cluxton, and Kildare get the opening goal at Croke Park.
Johnny Cooper for me he's a pest. For me, he's just sailing too close to the win. Refs are going to pick up on the way he's carrying on.
We don't agree with James at all. I think all the best players have it.
Daniel Flynn, his opposite number is Dean Rock, who's pursuing him. He's left him for dead, and he's got away from Small. Really good work from Daniel Flynn.
Many positive things for Kildare to take from this half of football.
Kildare playing with urgency, intent, you know, the attitude from the start.
Kildare should be much further ahead, but they're not.
The jargon we throw out with Dublin is very controlled, very measured, very patient.
Floats one into Brogan. Scoops it up for Dean Rock. Oh, that's a brilliant goal all round. Top quality stuff from Dublin. To Brogan with another knockdown. This time for Fenton. They are ripping Kildare to shreds. Fenton curls another. He's imperious when he's in this kind of a mood.
We're in a good position. We know we're not the full package just yet. It's early in the year, but we're looking forward to the journey of the 7 league games, so can't wait.
You know, go to the second half, 2-10 from play. You got to be happy with that, you know.
Dublin, I know it's the first round of the league and everything else, but look at what they've done in the last number of years. They're the best coached team, I think, in the history of the game.
Billy Joe, there was plenty of talking points. I know we're going to get to them, but you were there. You saw what happened. What was your take in the game?
I think you can only but be impressed with the way Dublin reacted, you know, and it's totally understandable that they'd be a bit slow out of the blocks early on. But I think it's something that Denis said there. Even he was sitting at home watching it. It was never in doubt for him that they were going to come back. And I think that's so ingrained throughout every member of that Dublin panel that it does. You know, if they know that if there's enough time left on the clock, they're going to put something together and get back into that game. And I think it probably was the perfect start for the league for them, and that a slow 20 minutes kind of really made them mentally switch on, and they had to react to it. And then you saw all the good parts of Dublin's play, the quick movement of the ball and the driving through the middle.
We're so used to seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something, Billy Joe, if I could pick up on it there, and we talked about, Denis, if you don't mind coming to the screen with me, we picked up on it.
Stretch the legs there, Senan.
Yeah, I'll just do a little hamstring stretching the way across. Well, you do a little jig in the background in your neutral Cork colours. But Denis, yeah, it's I suppose emblematic of the way Dublin play at the moment is Bernard Brogan. So I'm just going to show a couple of clips here. This is from the 2013 All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry. Yeah. So Bernard Brogan, if we just highlight Bernard Brogan here, and it's really, I suppose, the transformation of Bernard 2015 into what he is today in terms of his understanding of runners. So his remit back then, if we let this play, obviously his remit back then was shoot on sight. So we just pause this one. This is Bernard, obviously, as we're out there highlighting. Now this guy, that's Paul Mannion, left foot. Paul's running away from goal. He's going to lose his marker. But Bernard, as we know, his remit at the time was shoot on sight. Mark O'Shea behind him. Doesn't matter. On song, turn, pop it over the bar. And that was his remit at the time. There's another clip here later on. This one, it just sums up Bernard. If you can just rewind it a small bit. Okay, sums up Bernard as he was at that time. Now, let's have a look. This is James McCarthy. And you know James McCarthy coming off the shoulder, bombing a pay. He's going to steal a march. Sorry, Dave, apologies. He's going to steal a march. We'll just come back. Yeah. He's going to steal a march on James McCarthy, on Donegal Walsh. He's bursting into the space. Now, this is the guy we're looking at here. That's Bernard Brogan. Mark O'Shea, right behind him again, looks at, or does he? Looks at James McCarthy, but watch what he does. This is the Bernard Brogan of 2013, 2014, 2015, going away from goal. He's gone into that space. Mark O'Shea on him. He's running away on his bad foot. Mark O'Shea saying, go ahead, off you go, take a pop from there, have a crack, and it ends up going over the bar. So that was his remit back then. Contrast that, Denis, to what we saw the other night. Yeah. Okay, when we let this play away, this is Bernard Brogan of 2017, 2018. Now, we can just highlight him here. Initially, as he'll end up in the ball, and we let it play away. I just want to show you the difference between Bernard then and Bernard now. The ball breaks eventually. I think it's Kevin McMenamin ends up going down on a loose ball, and we watch Bernard's reaction just from this point here. So, Kildare defender, There's Bernard Brogan. He's already on the front foot. He's going to steal a march on those guys in front of him. Let it play on. Okay, now from here, this position. The Bernard Brogan of old, if you can just rewind that, the Bernard Brogan of old, Denis, okay, from that position there as he came around, yeah, just there, we can stop it on that. When we highlight him, even his body language, he's in front of the goal, you know, that little bit of space, he's at a robbing the yard of space, he has it there, that's where Bernard Brogan is going to shoot, not at all. Let's look at his eyes. His eyes are firmly placed on the Dublin defender, and if we actually keep an eye on him, he points to the guys on the outside, and this creates the scoring opportunity. So he's involved, lays it off, comes aside to Brian Fenton, lovely score. Okay, nice and easy, clipped over the bar. Yeah. So his remit now is, I suppose, it's the collective approach. What I'm saying is his understanding of runners, Denis. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, what's quite similar is that he's still picking up those great positions. So he's still getting in really dangerous positions, making really good runs, but then he's changing around what he's doing with the ball. So
yeah, okay, so another one here, and it's exactly what you were saying is what we pointed out. The Dublin always have one guy close to goal. So if it's Owen O'Garda, he's going to stay in there. If it's Bernard, he's going to stay there. If it's Dean Rock, Dean is going to stay in there. So if we just on this clip here, we want to just watch Bernard, who's actually operating in this position here. Now, nothing comes of this originally, but it's just it's his remit in terms of what he has to do. He's occupying that space just in here. That's where he wants to work, between those lines. Okay, and if we watch his body language, the ball coming out the park, I think it's Johnny Cooper ends up with the ball, and the initial pass doesn't go inside. Bernard is pointing, doesn't happen. Dean Rock, Colin Basquela pulled away. Brian Fenton darts inside and a lovely score. Now, I suppose it's the patience of Bernard Brogan, and again, it's the game plan that Dublin have, the collective approach rather than this bit of individuality that Bernard would have brought to the team back then. Because in the next ball, Bernard again, or the next screenshot we have here, occupy space. It's nearly a carbon copy. So this is Bernard Brogan down on this, occupying this area here. He's a load of space in front of him. Now, this is what I love about Bernard Brogan, the best of it. This is Dean Rock over on the other side. We let it just play on. Now watch Bernard's movement. He doesn't go outside that 21 metre line. Now here, he's after pointing. Now this is Dean Rock coming in from the left. Watch Bernard. Okay, his eyes are firmly placed on the ball, which is coming in from out the park. That's where he's looking. Yeah. But instinctively, he's gone to the 21-yard line. I don't know how he did it, Denis. When he looks across, Dean Rock is coming in from the left. And watch what Bernard does. Right. Lovely little run out and a loop back inside. And this is going to lead to the goal later on, the goal chance. So Bernard, Dean makes that move. Long ball inside, tap down, lovely soft hands. Dean Rock doesn't have to break stride and back of the net. So the Bernard Brogan that we're seeing now, Denis, first of all, his understanding of runners, rather than being a one-dimensional scorer, I think he's evolved into that sort of footballer, and it's symptomatic of where Dublin are going, or emblematic of what Dublin are nowadays, that it's the collective approach which you guys brought.
If you looked at where they're running, Dean and Bernard, what direction they're running, a lot of times you see guys running into the same space. They had the awareness then that Dean was going to go higher and Bernard was going to go a bit deeper, and that's how the goal then evolved, because they lost the defenders. So
it's obviously the coaching that you guys are after getting, and it's so ingrained.
Yeah, I think it's a good footballer's thing to see things as they evolve and happen on the pitch, and they can make adjustments that way, and that's what they were doing there. And obviously Bernard didn't collect the ball first time, but was new. Dean was coming off his shoulder. Now, are you unhappy you're after the time when you see what he can do at the end of January?
Happy enough. You're happy out. Yeah. Anna, you noticed a couple of things with Kildare, obviously, and Billy Joe's going to talk to them.
I also noticed how many complications are on that screen. It's rather you than me up there. Anyway,
that's true.
I suppose, I was looking at Kildare, and I suppose, really what struck me was, okay, at times their finishing might have been substandard, they would have been disappointed, but the creation of chances, they did penetrate that Dublin defence quite a bit, particularly in the first half. I mean, from the throw-in, they won the ball and got the first score. I mean, what was your take on this? Was their creation of the chances?
Yeah, I think it's as much to do with the makeup of their team. They have a young athletic team, and that's what you need particularly in Croke Park. You've got to have legs, and they were trying to utilise that pace as much as they could. Daniel Flynn, from that throw-in, started in the middle of the field, was out around the middle, and he drove through that area and was very dangerous throughout that night.
Absolutely.
And I think it's something that maybe people haven't identified against Dublin, is that sometimes they can be a bit vulnerable when you run directly at them.
Yeah, even the goal, I mean, they followed it the whole way through. One thing that struck me as well about Kildare is, even though in the second half when Dublin came down and they attacked them, was a 2-4 in 11 minutes, they never gave up. They continued to attack right throughout the second half, which, for a relatively newly promoted side was really positive.
And I think as well, the thing with that is that they just couldn't live with Dublin for that 20-minute period at the start of the second half. It wasn't that they stopped trying.
Yeah.
It's just they weren't up to that level yet, and it'll take more and more it'll take them playing Dublin more often and maybe another Leinster Championship game before they can start measuring themselves against Dublin a bit more.
Yeah.
Well, if you see here in that space there, I think Dean Rock in a normal championship game would be moving into that space as the arrow, and he would have been able to reroute Daniel Flynn out the field. And you see Flynn does really well to drive here.
Some speed as well.
John Small's a bit late to react, and then he strikes a good ball over the bar.
Like, that's a very experienced Dublin defence.
Yeah, and here Owen Doyle gets the ball first. You've highlighted the 5 Dublin defenders there, not reacting to the runner, and that's something that's just a lack of concentration that first half. Doyle keeps going. Flynn has the option, should have given it to him. Even still, when he got a shot away, probably still should have scored.
Yeah.
Eamon Callaghan does really well, using all his experience here. You know, John Small does not see David Slattery ghosting in behind him. That's something that Dublin will improve on over the summer. Slattery does well, gets his shot away, and there Cluxton is there to save it. And I think, you know, when you're aggressive, this is Doyle, that's the second time where he was aggressive on that ball, drives into the space, and then there's sometimes you just have to admire the quality. Daniel Flynn going away from goal at pace. You know, that's an unbelievable finish. But if you're going to beat Dublin, you're going to have to, you know, do the right things, but you're going to have to produce and finish at a high level as well.
Yeah, I think that direct running style, I think any team is going to struggle to try and defend against that hard direct running style coming off the shoulder, no matter whether it's a Dublin or a Mayo.
Exactly. That one there came from a kick out, you know, so how exposed you are by losing your own kick out when there's guys coming at pace, you're on the back foot straight away.
And we were pointing out on Saturday night, Denis, about particularly with Stephen's kick out, and we've seen how it's evolving into the mark nowadays. Keepers are going long, but Stephen will still put the ball into areas where most keepers think it's too risky to put it, and the risk reward is still there, I think, from Dublin's point of view. Obviously a bit ring rusty the other night, but Dennis, if we can point it towards Brian Fenton, because you more than anybody else will know about footballer. Yes, like,
give us the insights, Steve. That's what we're asking for.
You're not playing anymore. You don't have to come out. You can come off script.
No, you're seeing what he can do anyway.
Yeah. It's just a phenomenal footballer. I mean, what is it about him? So he came literally with, you know, he wasn't a prodigy underage, and he just burst onto the scene.
Look, he just has all attributes that a really good footballer has. You know, he's got speed, strength, pace, power. He's got all that good handling, kicking off both feet. He's got everything, and you see a glimpse of it here. So comfortable on the ball, right foot, left foot, and the way he kicks the ball just floats them over. Easy. You know, really nice style. And he does have a bit of burst of space to go around some, and he's actually really big, and he has a really big frame, so he's hard to tackle, and he's hard to get the ball off, but running at full speed, and that's a super finish there on the laces of the boot there to finish that.
He's a real Rolls Royce type of midfielder, isn't he? We're trying to see, is there any fault in him as well, but his communication skills, and we were saying on Saturday night that, you know, Kieran Kilkenny, a lot of ball goes through him, and he can inject pace or take it away on any given night, whereas that's what Brian Fenton was doing, I think, on Saturday night.
I suppose the thing for me is the way you'd have seen it firsthand, you know, from when he probably went into the squad, and your first impression is he's big, he's athletic, he gets around the field, and you know, his first maybe contributions was getting on goal scoring chances, but his game has just evolved in terms of even his tactical intelligence and even his foot passing, when to kick it in or when to just retain possession. And that's what's turned him into the sort of real high quality footballer that he is now. It's not just his physical attributes.
Now, I suppose I have to ask you about Mayo. It was a big win. I suppose, I mean, they've been slow at the start over the last few league campaigns, but, like, you know, what's different about Mayo this year? We do need to see something different, but Billy Joe, what would you put your finger on?
I don't know, is there a whole lot different? I think Mayo will be absolutely delighted with the 2 points away in Monaghan, and the only team in Division 1 to win away. And as you said, they've been slow starters. I think it's maybe as much a reflection of Monaghan. Monaghan in other seasons had loads of work done at this stage and were flying. In the first league game last year, I think we covered it for Air Sport, you know, they just ran away from Mayo in the last 15 minutes, ran them off the field. Whereas the most encouraging thing from that first game for me with Mayo was, okay, they went ahead, you know, down the stretch, 3 points ahead, they got pegged back. You know, with their recent history of losing close games, you would think they would have, you know, maybe put the head down. And as Paddy Durkin steps up and takes it on himself and kicks that winning score, I think that's a really positive thing for the Mayo team, because it just shows the continued resilience that they have, that they just keep coming back, keep trying, and they're not going to give up really, and just keep going to test themselves against the best.
Yeah, we were just talking about Billy as well. Winning early is crucial because it takes a little bit of heat off, and, you know, as you said, the resilience that they showed, and they haven't won under Stephen Rochford, I think, in the last 2 years, their first game, you know.
The reason for that is it's nothing to do with their mentality. Their whole preparation, physical preparation, is set out to peak in the summer. So they're not going to be as fit and as strong as they will be later on. So to get the 2 points, as you said, straight up is great. And that what makes the Kerry game next Saturday, you know, important for both teams, because if you get to 4 points at this stage, you're in great position.
Dennis, speaking of Kerry, and I watched that one on Sunday, you know, and it was certainly a scoreline 2-18 to 3-14. I would not have been expecting, but Donegal playing against them. Credit to Donegal as well. Open, expansive, free-flowing football down there. And I know there was a lot of talk of Clifford, but under the radar, Sean O'Shea came in, and I don't want to point you down an avenue, but he was one that stuck out for me. Did you notice anything about that game that stuck out?
Yeah, obviously a lot of goals in it for this time of year, huge scores to rack up. Now, obviously, if you're a defence, you'd be looking at that in great detail, not wanting to give it up. Now, some of them were breakaway goals and turnovers and things like that maybe you wouldn't get later on in the year, but you know, to come in there under the radar, obviously all the limelight was on Clifford, and he pops up then with 7 scores on the day. So
and he scuffed a couple of frees early on. You're thinking his confidence is going to be shot, you know.
That just shows though the quality of a player, even if you are missing them, that you can hold your resolve and go back and need it. So we'll have to have a word.
Did you have frees, Anna, ever?
No. Well, I did long distance ones. I was the defender, you know. The accuracy for me wasn't the way forward. They tried it a few times. They tried me at 11. It didn't work. Bit of a blip. We can't forget it was about Galway. So, like, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great win for Galway, particularly in Tuam. They're historically very difficult to beat there. I think that what Galway have added to their game is, when they're good, they can be very good. It's just that consistency they're looking for. They've been good against Mayo. I think they've beaten Mayo the last 3 times, 2 big championship wins, but then probably let themselves down in latter stages of the championship. But I think that's the beauty of being Division 1. You play good teams week after week. If you're going to thrive, you have to be consistent, to stay in the division. So I think this league will be very good for them in terms of developing that consistency over the summer.
Okay, thanks, lads. There. We also had live Division 2 action on Air Sport on Saturday night, as the Tip footballers made the journey to Páirc Uí Chaoimh to take on Cork under new manager Ronan McCarthy.
6 debutants for Cork, so I'm sure it'll be a nervous occasion for them, particularly at new Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and a good start for Tip.
Yeah, certainly is a good start for Tip. Sean White got the first score, looking for Cork's second and his second, and he puts it over beautifully.
We felt that we probably should have been further ahead at half time. Maybe 3 or 4 points might have been a better reflection.
We were just so poor in the first half that it was hard to see us winning at half time. If they stuck the penalty, it would have been a 4-point game, and they were valued for 4 points at least. We made a couple of changes. They worked. We took over the middle of the park, and once we did that, we won the game.
Chance now! Oh, the Premier are back in front by 1 point. Michael Quinn-Livermore, beautiful turn. Quinn-Livermore, what a finish!
They've a couple of very good players up front, and they took their chances as well.
Cork with a goal chance, in the back of the net it goes. He's only on the field a few minutes, Colm O'Neill.
We had a couple of chances, where we put the ball across, worked it very well, put the ball across the square, hit the post with one was just tipped off the line and so on.
They're the promotion favourites, Cork, and we've just beaten them in their own backyard. So I'd say for today that was good enough.
So obviously you saw that match. I mean, one thing that struck me was, Ronan McCarthy was always that tough type player, and I think as a manager now he seems to be bringing that in, particularly their full back line. I mean, they had 2 debutants, and both of those cornerbacks did really well. What did you think of that culture that's being created there in Cork?
You said it, and it was the resilience, I suppose, that we saw in that Cork in defence. McCarthy was a tough, uncompromising defender himself when he played, and the one thing I suppose that you bring when you're starting off to bring to any team is get a solid defensive unit. And what I loved about when we sat in James Horn talking, we watched this game, and of course there was lovely slick interplay from the Tipperary footballers, and they won the game, but Cork never died out. In particular the full back line, they were diving, they were blocking, they were hassling, they were hurrying. There was some real evidence of good defending, shimmying forwards away from the goal, and just not letting them get easy shots. I was really, really impressed with that sort of aspect of how they performed, and they never lay down, and they went from 3 points up to 7 down at one stage in a 12-minute period, but they never lay down. Colm O'Neill got a goal, and the scoreline, if you looked at that scoreline, you'd say Tipperary blitzed them, and obviously Tipperary deserved to win it, but if I was to take something, my take home point would have been Cork never lay down. There was a resilience and an edge to them. And
I suppose, guys, I mean, you know yourself the importance of culture, particularly when a new management comes in, because there's that transition period. I mean, Denis, did you find that with Dublin? I mean, it's so important to create that ethos. It's like a winning mentality.
Well, look, especially when a new guy comes in, everyone's on their best behaviour and trying to impress and stuff like that. But it does give you an extra 10%, a new guy coming in, and clean slate for everyone. And then you're just trying to obviously build it, get the new ideas from the new man in, and just try and drive on from there.
Yeah, I think as well, the thing with Cork is that they're underachieving. We know that for the last number of years, and they're probably starting where the culture, with respect, hasn't been that great. So the most important thing any manager will do is instill that and make those changes, and set the standards at a higher level so that everyone steps up and meets those, and even fellas that come into the squad can go and achieve that. But I think when you look at our colleague James Horan with the Mayo team, he set the culture in that Mayo team, and the managers that have come on since have just built on that. The players have embraced it and carried it even even through his absence. And I think that's his legacy with the Mayo team, but that's what Cork have to do. They have to develop that culture and then move it forward.
And it's a results-based business, unfortunately, so he needs time to develop a culture. Every manager does.
Oh, well, there's plenty of positives from a Cork point of view anyway, so I'm happy. Thanks, guys. Coming up after the break, we will have an interview with Dean Rock. I will also be asking the lads that if there was a GA transfer market, who would they sign for their county? Get the checkbooks out, lads. We'll see you in a few. Welcome back. Well, every week on Allianz Leagues Reloaded, we'll be putting players and managers through the Who Am I challenge. You know the game. They ask questions and can only get a yes or no answer back. So we added a clock and they have 30 seconds to guess the correct player. Let's see how Galway's Damien Comer got on.
Okay, is he from Munster? From Leinster? From Ulster? From Connacht? Is he from Galway? Is he forward? Is he left footer? Michael Meehan? Poor choice.
Okay, when we heard we had an opportunity to interview Dean Rock, we thought, let's not ask him the usual questions about Dublin's performance of the weekend or what it was like to stick over the free to win the All-Ireland. Instead, we wanted to know a bit about what Rocky's like off the pitch.
Probably growing up would have loved the L trilogies, The Lord of the Rings, probably one of my favourite movies to go back to now and again, yeah. For me, I suppose I'd be a bit more laid back in terms of the tunes I'd be listening to. Kings of Leon and Mumford and Sons probably are two bands who I enjoy most and would listen to before games. Yeah. From the Irish perspective, probably the Coronas be a band who I'd like and enjoy their music quite a lot. So been to a few of their gigs as well. So the Coronas now would be probably my favourite band. Yeah. Growing up, I would have followed Bohemians. Went to Daily Mentor Park with my dad to a few of the games growing up, and then obviously from the English side of things, it was Man United all the way. So still a Manchester United fan. Not winning as much at the moment, but hopefully that'll change the next couple of years. I watched a lot of rugby and played rugby in school for 6 years, so obviously followed the Leinster rugby team and watched the Super Rugby down in the Southern Hemisphere throughout the year, and then obviously American football then, big fan of the Patriots as well. So I suppose growing up I obviously would have watched a lot of rugby, and Johnny Wilkinson was the main kicker at the time with England, and they're winning World Cups and Six Nations and Grand Slams. So for me, Johnny Wilkinson was always a huge inspiration, and then I just would have loved watching Tiger Woods play golf at the time. He was an amazing golfer, won so much, and I think he was nearly everyone's favourite. You pick up different tips from different sports free takers and place kickers along the way, but certainly through reading different things in his books and his process and his routines, certainly learn a lot from the best like him.
Well, he had a good idol at home in his dad, Barney.
Yeah,
I tell you,
that's
talking
true.
about Johnny Wilkinson. Now, something that James Horan was talking about on Saturday night off the back of Brian Fenton's performance was a transfer market, and he sort of stumbled over it. He said, look, if there was a transfer market in Gaelic football, Brian Fenton would be top of that list. So we decided maybe we'd have a little light-hearted look at
an exclusive,
I think it's the last day of the soccer transfer market in England. So we said, if there was somebody, Denis, I know this is hard for you looking back, is there somebody you could fit into a Dublin setup? But if there was somebody from outside the Dublin camp that maybe you could bring into that Dublin setup, is there anybody out there?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you're pushing me, obviously, I think we have enough there in Dublin at the moment.
Who are you going to kick out? That's the problem.
I agree. Exactly. Yeah. Look, I got a quick glimpse at David Clifford during the year on the sideline in Croke Park before our games, and you know there's just something. There's a spark there. There's something really exciting about him. He's really young as well, so if you got him in the transfer market, you got 10 years of football in him. So I think he's going to be definitely one to watch. And I think as a minor, you're probably looking at the likes of Kieran Kilkenny and Cormac Costello. They were really standout minors as well, and you kind of knew they were going to make the step up.
Hang on now, though. If you're bringing him in, who are you kicking out? Who are you kicking out of the Dublin forward line?
Me, come in instead of me, yeah.
Put him on the record, go on.
Yeah, so
He's definitely in the sort of the Conor Callan mould, isn't he?
Yeah,
that he could just burst into a scene and just take off. I think I've never seen that goal that Con scored in the All-Ireland final. So he kept on the ground the outside of his boot. The only other Dublin player I've ever seen do that was Bernard Brogan when he came on in 19 or 20 in the Leinster final, again in a tight space outside of the boot, and he went on to have a long career. So
do you ever talk about anybody except the Dubs? He's always brings it back to the Dubs.
Apologies.
Wearing the red.
Himself in a neutral red. Billy Joe.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think I'm a big admirer of Paul Geaney. I think he gives you a bit of everything, and I know David Clifford is a superb talent, and he's a good role model there beside him if he can go and try and match what he does. But I think the most impressive thing for me about Geaney is, no matter, he can be the centre of attention, and then you come away from a game and think, well, what did he do? And you look at the stat sheet, and he's 1-3 scored, because I think he's so economical. Even the goal he got against Donegal in the league last year, he's just there, and it's like a little dribbled finish in under the keeper, and it's in the back of the net. So I think if you're adding him to the Mayo full forward line, him and Andy and Killian O'Connor, I think they give lots of teams lots of
Kerry
problems.
people are going to love you, by the way. They're like, he's paying him money to be saying that. Well, now, come on, what about you?
Yeah. And again, like Denis, who goes? So I was thinking there's so much cover everywhere. I just went for a versatile sort of footballer. Guys, you could put in at a half forward line, show him in midfield if you want, or half back, and even if you want him to go on the full back line, you could put him anywhere. And for me, that guy is Peter Hart from Tyrone.
Oh yeah.
I just think he's the ultimate professional, and he would just fit into that Dublin camp in terms of, and the individual flair in a collective approach. He wouldn't upset the culture we talked about early on. And I just love the way he takes watching when you play against him. I know John Small followed him all around the park in that All-Ireland semi-final, and we know he just hammered him. And I suppose that played into Dublin's hands, but I think if he was playing with Dublin, I'm sure they'd go on another notch. Where do they go? They could probably guarantee another All-Ireland, but who goes?
Well, that's the thing. That's a big question with Dublin, because they've such a solid team. It's like, if you want to take one out, who's it going to be?
Yeah,
do you want to press me on that? We'll put you on the spot.
No, we can't.
All the Dublin supporters will be giving out about not getting Footballer of the Year again. None of us even pick one of them.
I know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the truth of it. Yeah.
And I'm not going to either, actually. So sorry, guys.
So for Cork, you watch Cork closely over the last few years. So.
Yeah, look, I just think what Cork is lacking is that, I suppose, that burst out of defence. That link player between the forwards and the defence, and you want someone that's prepared to take that offload and attack, and not just attack and stop, but keep going. And Lee Keegan, I think, is that player for me. He's kind of that all-round ability. Even when he's marking players, he's often outscoring them.
He takes mark. You're a half forward. You're marking him.
Exactly.
He's a game-changing player, no doubt. And I think you're exactly right with Cork. And traditionally Cork were always strong in that half-back line.
That's right. Canty, Kazan, O'Leary.
So we need someone like that now that's going to take that. I think that's why for me, and he is very versatile, because he is able to, like you said, mark a player if needs be, but also he'll get on the scoreboard as well.
Big game mentality.
So Lee, we've plenty of houses down below Cork. If you're fancy. Remember, we want you to get in touch, and we are going to be putting your questions to the lads in the next part. So comment on the Facebook live stream, or get in contact with us on Twitter at @AirSport, #Allianz Leagues Reloaded. We're going to be back shortly. See you in a few.
Welcome back. Right, time now for us to get into our social media section.
Very interesting altogether.
So I noticed on social media Dermot Connolly, and he got a lot of static there.
He's mad for the selfies. Don't believe a word that he says.
He was in the Hogan stand, and there was a point not given according to himself. But anyway, lads, we're not giving too much away. So
yeah, no, exactly. You can pick one of these topics that you want to actually talk about. So which one takes your fancy, guys? Who wants to pick?
I'll go for midfield battle.
Okay, the midfield battle. Interesting. What does Ben have to ask? Just going to get it up there now.
Remember the easy one, Denis.
Right, so, look, lovely. Question for Denis Bastick. We'll have the best midfield pairing in the country with Fintan and McCarthy. Which county for you has the second best? Very good question, actually. Put him on the spot. Love it.
Yeah.
I suppose you have to go around and pick out the top teams, Obviously, Kerry have really good midfield, and that's an area that you'd be looking at. They get a lot of joy out of dominating teams on the midfield. Mayo as well, they've got a lot of success. They switch it around from time to time. Obviously, Aiden goes in and comes out. You'd probably have to say though Kerry would shade it then.
Yeah, of course. The Dublin man, the dressing room, it's like the Kerry midfield, so it's being hammered. It's good to know.
They were probably seeing a change in the midfielders again now with the mark.
Yeah,
I suppose midfielders got big and mobile and
catching.
And even the fact that the short kickouts are going to be harder to get out. There's going to be more long kickouts going to the midfield. You know, you might have stayed around. You know, for another years.
Billy Joe, you've had a good look at that.
Yeah, I'll go for any hope because that could be anything.
Like this, I don't know. I have a feeling I know what it might be about. Right, Michael Malloy, what's your question? It's just loading out technology, guys. You know.
Hi guys. Wexford football has been underachieving and in the shadow of the hurlers for the last 6-7 years now. And I was just wondering, do you think that they are doomed to be in the shadow of the hurlers? For the next 20 years, or do you think that they will come again and start to compete with the likes of Dublin again?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I think it's difficult for Wexford, but the one thing I say, I admire Wexford and Cork because they really are a dual county, and I think from what you hear is that resources is spread fairly evenly between the football and the hurling team. So I think that from a football point of view, they will become strong again, but maybe their success maybe 7 or 8 years ago was based on underage teams, and I think that's probably be the start for them. Get a couple more underage teams that'll be competitive in Leinster and focus on the minor and under 20 grade and try and bring those people
organically.
If you look at Tipperary, like they're a team that's developing, and Clare that's developing now with young players. They've had decent underage teams, and that's how you build.
Yeah, well, thanks to those lads. Coming up in the final part of the show, we'll be reviewing and previewing the Allianz Hurling League action and speaking to Offaly hurling manager Kevin Martin. Back in a few.
Is he from Leinster? Is he a back? Is he a forward? Does he have an All-Ireland? 4 All-Ireland? 2 1 5 All-Irelands. Born in Brogan? 5 All-Irelands. Okay. Are we going hurling football? Oh Jesus, yeah you did. Sorry.
He's really not going to thank us for showing that. Sorry, Lee.
So the Allianz Hurling Leagues got off with a bang on Saturday evening. The feature Division 1 game came from Páirc Uí Chaoimh, where the Rebels welcomed the Cats.
It's a massive challenge here. Kilkenny are here tonight, and I saw them last week playing Wexford, and it was intense. So the game tonight is going to be intense and competitive, but we're looking forward to it, and it's an opportunity for young players to play.
He does deserve his chance at it, and it's a big game for him tonight at home. So he'll want to get a win under his belt, and tonight in front of his home crowd.
Well, yeah, I think all managers now would realise that they want a strong league campaign. Look at Galway last year straight away; they won both. But it's a question of just getting into the winning habit, the team getting confidence and driving on, and it's hard to beat winning.
What happened was, he felt a bit aggrieved that Richie Reid was sent off. Richie Reid's gone off. Here's me manager standing up for me. Happened to me a few years ago. Cody came in, stood up for me, gives you a little bit of a lift going off.
I think Kilkenny, I probably maybe disagree small, but they're in a bit of transition. They're going to have to find a couple of key players, but look, this is the time you find them in the league.
Well, it's the start of a new season in a brand spanking new stadium. Big chance for so many players to make a big impression.
After such a great year last year, the pressure was on them. Can they live up to it? Have they the toughness? And they have. That's what you want at the start for a young team. Build confidence, and they've played like that right throughout the first half.
Shane Kingston delivers on that potential and that promise after only 2 minutes. And Buckley again in the right place at the right time. 2 points in a minute for Kilkenny's left half back.
It's encouraging for Minor that they've created a couple of really, really good goal chances in that first half, and Owen Murphy has kept Kilkenny in it with a couple of top drawer saves.
Jamie Harnady's in! Flying save by Owen Murphy. It's the second time he's come to Kilkenny's rescue in this first half.
The question marks that were asked of this Cork team this year, they're answering them again here tonight.
That's very classy from Luke Meade. All of a sudden, Cork just have a little bit of breathing space.
Kilkenny came back into the game.
Here it comes, Pádraig Walsh, it's up, it's over, it's absolutely brilliant.
They used the ball very well for these scores, and even towards the end of the game then, you know, when the pressure was on and they were looking for this win down here in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you know, they just tapped over great scores.
And after 6 successive defeats in the Allianz League to Kilkenny, it's Cork's night.
Like you've seen Brian Cody earlier on, you were saying he didn't look worried, but I bet you he's not happy because he wants to win.
You know, the result matters at the end of the day. But having said that, you know, a lot of our players showed up very well.
We've won one game, 2 points, that's all it is. Wexford Sunday weekend, we look forward to that now.
Well, I won't lie, anytime Cork beat Kilkenny, it's always something to smile about. But one Kilkenny man that made everyone smile on Saturday night with his commentary was Tommy Walsh.
I suppose when you retire, everyone asks you the question, do you miss it? Would you love to be still there? We were coming down into Páirc Uí Chaoimh tonight, and this is when you start to miss it, Damien. Well, just reminds you of me in my head speeding up that pitch there, Mike. I was never able to do that. Here's Power coming out with the ball. I was looking at him saying, it's like the PlayStation playing FIFA. You press the L1 button and off you go. Yeah. Well, I had no L1 button in my day, but off he goes. And look at this, like that's a fabulous point. Like they have the Premier League across the waters. We've the National League back here. Myself and Shane were looking across the far side of the stadium. It's absolutely full. The players, the performances and the duels that are going on here today are magical.
Tommy Walsh there, breathless down on the sideline.
We were just, you sat Billy Joe were saying he's the programme in the hands.
I know.
That's real stuff there.
That's the real old school Geary. Well, I am happy to have the man himself on the line. Tommy, good evening. What was the most impressive thing for you about Cork on Saturday night? Ask as a Cork woman, of course.
Yeah, well, as you'd expect with Cork, all the great Cork teams, I suppose, skill and movement was the main part of their game. And I just thought from the minute one Saturday night, they were just flying all over the place. I was just thinking, Anna, when I was a defender, the last thing you want to do is the forward flying all over the place, but know where he's going. It's grand, like say, when some guys are moving around, but they might necessarily be reading the game. But these Cork boys were moving. They knew exactly where the puck outs were going. They knew exactly where the defenders were hitting the ball. And I'd say for any back, it was a nightmare. So I'd say the most impressive thing was definitely their movement. Yeah, and it was good for this time of year as well. Like, you also said that Brian Cody would be happy with Kilkenny's overall performance. So what improvements will he be looking for this week then? Well, you see, I wouldn't even be looking at with improvements with Kilkenny. The main thing Kilkenny needs to do is build confidence. As you keep hearing, it's in the media, it's everywhere around. Kilkenny are a team in transition. They've new lads that have to blood them. We need patience with this team. These are young lads that are only fresh out of minor, out of under 21. These guys aren't used to playing, say, senior inter-county, the big games. We need to have fierce patience with this Kilkenny team. And the thing is, if I am Brian Cody and the Kilkenny management team, I wouldn't be going around changing a whole lot. It's just build confidence with these young lads. That's all they need. Like, some of them have minor All-Irelands. They got to an under-21 All-Ireland last year, which was a massive disappointment because they were expecting, to go up and beat Limerick, and that didn't happen. So they'll be very disappointed with that. So my main thing for Kilkenny over the whole league is let's build confidence. And, no better way to build confidence than to get a win. So it'll be a completely different game against Clare on the weekend because Clare would, it's a more sharp passing game, more kind of defensive. So it won't be half as open. But so I think for Kilkenny, it's just to adapt again to that game and just build confidence in their younger players. Yeah, certainly the pedigree's there. Now, you were also really impressed with the quality of hurling on show for this time of year. So do you think we're going to get something similar this weekend in Air Sport when Tipperary face Waterford on Saturday night? Yeah, well, what I'm most excited about, I suppose, Saturday is not necessarily the game itself, but the players. I think it's going to be a hugely tactical game. Like, we were expecting this game probably in the Munster semi-final last year. Waterford, or Tipperary played Cork, and everyone was expecting Tipperary to win that and want to play Waterford in the semi-final. But it turned out, I suppose Cork probably stunned them on the day, and that was the start of this very, very good Cork team. So I'd be expecting a hugely tactical game, but what I'm interested to see is how will the Tipperary players react to so many, like, their main, I suppose, advantage over other teams is the brilliant forwards, the stickmen that can make the ball talk. And what I'd say is it's going to be very difficult against a Waterford team who have, 8, 9, 10 defenders. So I'm looking to see how the likes of John McGrath, not sure if the Bubbles will be there, but the Bonnermar, how will they react to that? And then with the Waterford team, like Austin Gleeson, like we all spoke about him last year. When you actually, I was looking at an interview with Derek McGrath. If you actually look at his statistics last year, they were quite good. So I'm looking forward to seeing him maybe play without the same pressure that was on him last year. So mainly with Saturday, I'm looking forward to seeing personal, individual performances.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know what, people aren't just looking forward to the hurling, they're also looking forward to seeing if you're going to be wearing a pair of ripped jeans again on Saturday night. You're a bit of a trendsetter there, I believe, Tommy, in the fashion stakes.
Well, I rang Owen Kelly that morning to see what he was wearing. He said a pair of jeans, but maybe I shouldn't have worn the ones with the rip in it. It was
all the young Kilkenny fellas now are wearing them now. You do know that you're after setting a trend.
Well, I just have to wear no socks now, like Jackie maybe Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Jesus, the Kilkenny fellas are trending like the new time. Thanks very much for talking to us, Tommy.
Okay, Anna.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, okay, next on the line is Offaly manager Kevin Martin. Kevin, lovely speaking to you. I was there, of course, talking to you after the great win for Offaly on Saturday, and I heard the cheer from the Offaly fans at Croke Park after the game. So what was the feeling like in the dressing room? Like, I know it's league and I know it's January, but it was a big win for Offaly hurling all the same.
It was, and you know, the guys were very happy with their own performance, and there was a buzz in the dressing room after that hasn't been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose looking ahead now to Limerick at home, it is a big game. Limerick are a very formidable side. What have you learned from the game against Dublin that you're going to bring to the Limerick game?
Well, hopefully if we can bring the same intensity, that's what we hope to bring. Yeah. I went down to watch Limerick last Sunday myself, and you know, they are a very, very good side. And it's been a while since we've beaten Limerick as well. So while last Saturday was a very, very good win, we have to be realistic. You know, that was an experimental Dublin side. So, you know, we know we're up against it the weekend. If we can bring the same intensity against Limerick, we hope to be up thereabouts with them.
Well, certainly we look forward to that game after what we saw against you. Thanks very much for the call and taking the time, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thanks, Anna.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
So I might as well say before Anna does, I was getting my makeup done while Anna was doing the hurling interview.
She was. I had to do the interviews because he was taking so long in the chair.
So apologies for that. Right, lads, you saw Damien Homer and Lee Chin doing the 30-second challenge, so we're going to put you on the spot.
Boom, 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 boom.
You know,
so is it individual or is it team?
You know, it's team.
Yeah,
so you know how it works. So
we're Dennis,
it's a footballer. That's all I can say. And when I say,
don't be giving him hints.
No, that's as good as it gets. Go.
Leinster, is he playing in Leinster?
Yes.
Dublin?
No.
Meath?
No.
Clare?
Yes.
Current player?
Current. Did he hit freeze?
Yes.
Daniel.
Niall Kelly?
No.
Johnny Doyle.
God, look at work together. What nice.
Well done, John Doyle. Dennis Bastick with 17 seconds. That's it, yeah. Well done. That is
impressive.
Excellent.
It was like, let's ask as many questions as I can. I'm not even going to think. I'm just going to keep blurting out things.
Okay, and thanks, lads. And there you have it. Episode 1 of Allianz League Reloaded. Thank you to our guests, Denis and Billy Joe. And Anna, and to
we
you.
didn't go too bad.
Yeah.
Thank you at home for watching. From myself and Son, and goodbye until next week. Hopefully we'll still be here.
Supporting all 32 counties, Allianz.